Now here we had permanent. Permanent, how do you spell permanent, man? P-E-M-P-E-R, yes, P-E-R-N-E-N-T, yes, thank you. Then temporary and undo. These are the types of the table spaces that we have seen. Now there is one feature of a table space. It is not a type, it is not a categorization. These are statuses, these are types, and these are the extents management. And what is that extent management? It is a feature of a table space about how the extents in that table space are managed. Okay, so what is inside a table space? Segments, and inside the segments there are extents. So how are those extents managed within that table space? Based on that, there are two types. One is called as locally and one is called as dictionary. Locally and dictionary. It means the management of extents is done locally within the table space itself. That means we have now so much of disk space, so much of table space. Within that, 2 or 3 tables are created. That means 2 or 3 segments are created. Within that, there are certain extents, and those extents, some of those would be free, some of them will have data depending on what has been inserted, what has been deleted, all that stuff. So, and which extent belongs to which table, and all the information about the extent and management of that extent. But basically, the information about the extent has to be stored somewhere, and that is stored within the data file itself or somewhere else in the data dictionary. Based on those two things, where the information about the extent is stored, they are called as locally managed table spaces or dictionary managed table spaces. So let me draw a diagram here. This is my hard disk. This is my hard disk. This is one data file. This is another data file, and both of them combined together is my table space. Now within this table space, now I have one extent created, another extent created for table A, and then table B, and so on, and all those things are happening. The extents are getting created. The information about the extent, which is free, which is not, which one belongs to which table, all that information has to be kept somewhere, so that when I drop a table, A, then Oracle knows that these two extents should be the data should be removed from there. So all that information is kept somewhere locally, and where is that locally kept? In the first block or the first few blocks of that data file. So this is one data file, this is another data file. So I'm drawing a very small thing. It's not an extent, it's a block. First block or first few blocks of each data file will contain the information of the extents in that data file. And that is why that information is locally kept within the data file. It is right there in the data file, and that is why this kind of management is called as a locally managed table space. And this part is called as the header. Header of the data file. Header of anything. We have a header for everything. We have a header for an extent. We have a header for a segment. We have a header for a data block also. What is the header? It's the first part of that file, first part of the table space, first part of the segment. That is called as a header. That is the header. And why headers are so important? Because in the header, some valuable information about that segment, about that extent, about that table space, about that data file is kept. And that is basically what is called as locally managed. In locally managed, let me repeat this thing. In a locally managed table space, the information about the extents for managing the extent is kept locally in the header of each data file. In earlier days, this was not there. The information about the extents, how many extents are there in table A, which of them are free, in which data file are they, all this information was kept in certain table. And that table was a part of the data dictionary. That table was part of the data dictionary. So all that stuff was kept inside the data dictionary, and that's why all the up till 8i, everything was dictionary managed. All the table spaces were dictionary managed. In 9i they introduced these locally managed table spaces, and now they are saying that just know what the dictionary managed table space is, but never ever use this thing. And the reason for that is performance is very slow, because you have to manage extents which are here. But to manage that, you have to go somewhere else to get that information, and that information is in some tables.
It would have been system.
It would have been a table owned by sys in the system table space, obviously. So there is this system table space now. So within that system table space, there is one table, and in that table there is your information about the extents of this data file.
For each data.
For each data file, obviously, not just this, but all data files. And then there is an overhead. Since it is in a table, just imagine, information is kept in a table. Now I say I drop table A. Okay, user comes in and he drops table A. When he drops table A, what happens? These two extents should be kind of not deallocated, but basically they should be removed from that table. That they don't belong to that table A anymore, because the table A does not exist. So there will be a deletion of those two extents from the data dictionary row. And when there is a deletion, there is a rollback. When there is a rollback, there is an overhead, and everything is slow. And that's why Oracle decided, starting from version 9i, that we are not going to keep the information about the extent management of any table space in the data dictionary, but we are going to keep it locally in the header of the data file, and that makes it very fast. Okay, so that is the locally managed table space. So table spaces, you can say table spaces are of two types: locally managed, dictionary managed, or you can say these are two features, whatever you want to call it. And Oracle recommends don't use dictionary managed table spaces anymore. Only if you have older databases, then you may have to deal with them. Now, even within, I'm not going to talk about dictionary managed anymore. Within locally managed, there are ways to do the extent allocation. How are extents allocated? Number one is automatic. And the second one is uniform. What is the meaning of this? By default, nobody says that extent management is automatic, because by default it is automatic. It means what now? That means when I create a table, okay, let us say when I create a table, what is going to be the size of my first extent? We saw that we specify the size in the storage clause. But let us say we do not specify that. Then what is going to be the size of that table? What is going to be the size of the extent of that table? What is going to be the size of the next extent of that table? All those things are automatically decided by Oracle. And in earlier days they were not decided, and that's why we had to write the storage clause, initial extent, next extent, all that stuff. So those things are not written anymore. Those were just for our understanding. Everything is done kind of automatically. But if we don't want it to be done automatically, then we can specify that we can at least do it in a uniform way. And you remember this is again my hard disk. This is my let us say one data file and one table space. When the extent is created, this is the initial extent, then the next extent, and the size of the next extent is automatically decided by Oracle, and Oracle will decide the size of the next extent to be a little bigger than the size of the initial extent for the growth. Then it will kind of keep doing that thing until the sizes are or the table size is maybe up to certain size, and after that it will start giving bigger and bigger extents. So the sizes of the extents that are allocated are having certain algorithm, internal algorithm of what should be the sizes, and they are not uniform. And because they are not uniform, there is a problem, a fragmentation problem. Because if you drop certain things, then there would be holes of smaller and bigger sizes. So to avoid the fragmentation problem, we will specify that the extents in the table space that you are creating will all be having a uniform size of, let us say, 2 megabyte, and you can decide the size of that uniform extent. So this is the difference between a uniform allocation of extent and automatic allocation of extent. Automatic allocation, the sizes will be decided by Oracle, and they will not be same, they will be kind of growing as the size of the table grows. So I would like you to kind of create one table. Okay, create one table and do not specify the size of the initial extent or anything, and then go and check what is the size of the extent by going into the db_extents. In the db_extents you will be able to see the size of the first extent of that table. Then after that you keep on adding data. As the data is getting added in that table, the extent will be full. All the blocks in that extent will be filled. The entire extent will be filled. So this extent will be full. Then what? Then Oracle will allocate the next extent. Once it allocates the next extent, we have to keep on watching whether it has allocated the next extent or not in the another window. From one window you keep on adding data. From another window you keep on checking whether the next extent has been allocated or not. And then you will see the size of the next extent in again db_extents. That size may or may not be the same depending on the algorithm. Then the next, and as you can see, the sizes would be little different, and they will keep on increasing after certain thresholds. If I remember it correctly, after the first 16 extents, suddenly the size increases. It becomes 1 megabyte for each extent. Until that point, it is 64K. But it is a different thing. That is what I would like to say. I mean, they could change that in next version of Oracle. So that algorithm is an internal algorithm. As opposed to that, if I create a table space, I create a table space with the uniform size of 2 megabytes. Every extent will be of 2 megabytes. Every extent. Create any table there, it will be of 2 megabytes. And if you drop that, the holes of 2 megabytes will get created. And then what if there are holes of 2 megabytes? You create another table that will go and fit in that 2 megabyte extent. So fragmentation will happen, but it will be reutilizing those holes as the new data comes in. Okay, that's what the uniform size is. And how do you create a table space with the uniform size? That is what I will kind of mention here now.
Segment wise.
Uniform is the extent size. So here is how you specify. Is about extent. Create table space TS1. This is all for permanent table space, by the way. This is not for undo table space, or this is not for temporary table space. All this discussion is for the permanent table space. So create table space TS1, data file, and the name of the data file. Okay, and then you can specify. Okay. Either nahi. But anyway, I cannot find it. You can specify size is equal to 10, let us say, or 100 megabyte, a very small one, and then you can say extent management, local. Extent management local. Extent management locals mean you are creating a locally managed table space, and then you specify size or uniform size. Let me check that. Uniform size of 2 megabytes. Default is 1 megabyte. If you don't specify the size, if you just specify word uniform size, then it will be 1 megabyte each.
And if you don't specify, then it is automatic.
Then it is automatic. So if you don't specify this clause, it is going to do automatic extent management sizes.
So then why Oracle has not designed to increase means uniformly, automatically uniform, so that
that's a good question actually. I mean, my recommendation always is not to use automatic. My recommendation is always to use uniform.
Oracle should have designed it.
Oracle is why I think it is for better space management. The algorithm is like this: if your table is small, then your sizes of the extents are going to be 64 kilobytes, and that will go on till first 16 extents. After that, if your still size is growing, then looks like your table is big, so the next extents are bigger. So initially Oracle doesn't want to consume huge amount of disk space unnecessarily. Maybe that is one of the reasons why they have automatic. If you have a extent of 2 megabyte, and if you have a table which is a very small table, like in our project there is a table called as region, it has only 4 rows. So just for 4 rows, now you are occupying unnecessarily 2 megabytes of disk space, because one has to have at least one extent. That is why not just have 64 kilobytes of extent? That could be one of the reasons. Disk saving or space saving is one of the things. So extent management is local, uniform size is 2 megabytes. So this is how you create a locally managed table space. If you do not specify this thing, extent management local, then still the default is local. And if you want to create a backward compatible table space, which is a dictionary managed table space, you just use the word extend management dictionary. This is not recommended at all. It will slow the performance of extend management.